Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie and TV discussion in the multiverse. I'm your host, Adam Portress, and joining me today, he's awesome phobic, sweet Chauncey Kovacs from the internet.
I also gave my dog an invisible bone.
And they call him the Hamburglar, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and I do take direction better than the eagle.
It's true, he does. We say, well, Bruce, do the connection, and boom, he does it right away, like every week. We just tell him to do it. And
you say, boom, fly and drop this helmet on top of that barn. I'm going to do it.
Why do you even make a helmet that gives everybody scabies? It doesn't make much sense.
Except the wearer, of course. Of course. I like how that's just great. Well, we are back, everybody. We're talking about the second half of Peacemaker on HBO Max. We're episodes 4 through 8 and everything. But before we do all that good stuff, we do want to say a big giant thank you to the people that support us over at patreon.com/HMP. Doesn't matter what you support this show at. You get pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone, all that good stuff. And we're doing something a little bit different this month for our Patreon vote and everything that's coming up this week. This time, we're going to give you movies that have something to do with superhero movies. Something to do with superheroes or have a comic book connection in one way, shape, or form. This way we can kind of take a little break from the kind of traditional comic book movie and do a little something else different, but always still relating back to comic books and, of course, Stallone as well. So here are the choices right now. Ingrid Goes West, Adventures in Babysitting, True Romance, Clerks, and The Iron Giant. That's that. First and foremost, I will say this. You're looking at all pretty good movies here. I don't think you're going to have... a time where you're going to be like, oh no, we've got bad times coming ahead, because those are all good movies.
Yeah.
Which is strange.
Mallrats is good.
Which is strange for a Patreon thing sometimes, because they usually all tend to be the worst of the worst. But right now, I'll tell you, I'm gonna wait till the end of the show and I'll refresh it. But I'm gonna give you some updated stats on all of these, what the standing is right now. So if you want to support the show, you can go over to patreon.com/HMP and vote on something. And who's to say that you can't make as many accounts as you want and donate as much as you want in order to get the votes to go your way? We are not below cheating here in any way, shape, or form. You can get bought straight to the top.
Yes.
Pay for play around here. You want to do it, we'll make it happen. So patreon.com/HNP. And of course, if you can't do that, please at least share the show with a friend, tweet us out, do any of those social media things. And just leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever you leave reviews. It's really, really strange, because if we had just a bunch of people review all of a sudden for things, people start seeing this stuff more. The algorithm does those things and puts us in front of other people's eyeballs or ears in this particular case. So do that, review us, and all that kind of good stuff. Thank you guys so much.
And let me ask a question to the panel here. Mm-hmm. Have you guys seen all of these movies already?
I haven't seen Ingrid Goes West.
Oh, you're in for a delight. That's a good movie.
So yeah, I would say don't, because maybe a lot of people don't know that one. Don't sleep on that movie, and the comic connection for that movie is going to be spectacular.
Also, I must say that there are two movies that are probably on this list. One of them is absolutely the movie that I've seen the most of any movie ever, which is The Iron Giant.
Which I will say, I have actually never seen before.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. For whatever reason.
It is Diesel's best film.
No.
Fast 9 is. Come on.
Guardians movies.
All right, I guess.
But it is my daughter's favorite film to this day. My oldest daughter's favorite film. I have bought The Iron Giant 17 different times over the course of her life.
Well, now available on 4K Blu-ray.
Oh, trust me, we have seen them all. And even right now, I could watch that movie and I could probably speak along to it, but I still love it. It's still a movie I love. And Clerks, of course. I when I was of that age, I broke down like the Zapruder film to figure out what made it work. And how do I replicate this? I did not. I was not successful.
So we got a lot of good choices for you guys to choose from, and one, honestly, right now, as these standings are, and I'll give you final standings before the end of the show. tight race right now. Tight race all around. So patreon.com/HMP or grab your mama's phone and review us on iTunes. We appreciate that. All right, let's get into it because it took me so long to edit that trailer last time and make it family friendly and clean and everything. I'm going to play that again. Here's a trailer for Peacemaker.
All right, kids, and that's how I defeated one of the world's most dangerous villains with only my 2 fists. My Desert Eagle and 2 rocket launchers. Eat peace, motherfuckers! Any questions?
Have you met Wonder Woman?
She did spend an entire party IFing me from across the room.
Sick.
Dude, I said effing. Hey! All right!
Peacemaker, I was hesitant to bring you onto this team. Hey! But right now, the world needs a son of a bitch. And you're the only one I got.
You know, you don't have to call me Peacemaker. You can call me Chris.
Just because you're handsome doesn't mean you're not a piece of shit.
Think I'm handsome?
Oh my God.
Okay.
This task force doesn't officially exist.
You want to do this job? You can't ever.
Listen, I can help. I'm stellar with weapons in combat.
You don't have to shoot people after I already killed them.
Right.
Game day, bitches!
Aren't you guys being a little nonchalant about all this?
Are you insinuating there is a wrong time and a right time to rock? Yeah!
You don't understand what we're up against.
We need every hand on deck.
Is that an eagle?
It's Eagle, my sidekick.
Asshole! What's wrong with your bird?
Such a good, handsome boy.
Dude, we're saving the world. It's everything we've ever wanted.
Dude!
Yeah!
Tell me what you know.
I'm telling you shit.
How do you like that?
I like it. I like it a lot. I don't give a f.
What?
Give it all you got. Hey, don't worry. I'm not giving this guy anything.
Maybe you could just give him a little.
Hey, Sweet Cheeks, can you take my order real quick?
Seriously, dude.
She had terrific cheeks. It's a compliment. Sweet Cheeks is your butt. No, it's not.
It is. It's like calling somebody, I don't know, sugar. It's
Totally inappropriate. Are way too big to be sugar. Sugar are like smaller, perkier. It's like yours. Technically, I think you may have sugar too, but somehow that also feels inappropriate.
Alrighty, that was the trailer for Peacemaker. As you can imagine, it took me a long time to edit that to go clean.
Yeah, it shows.
It was a bit of an uphill battle, but we got there. You know what time it is.
It's time for Bruce's Comic Book Connection.
Bruce, what do we got?
White Dragon. It's a name that's been used by more than one supervillain in the DC universe. Unfortunately, all the villains have had ties to white supremacy, with the name itself inspired by the rank of Grand Dragon in the Ku Klux Klan. Daniel Buchanan, the original White Dragon, was a foe of Hawkman. He was also a neo-Nazi, and he wore a suit of power armor that focused his energy into his attacks. He was followed up by a successor named William Heller, who first appeared in the pages of Suicide Squad in 1987. Heller was a member of the Aryan Empire, the Fourth Reich, and the Suicide Squad, which is a strange kind of trifecta. In the comics, Peacemaker's father was never one to don the identity of White Dragon, but given that he was a former guard in a Nazi death camp, I think the robes would have fit him well. There was a totally separate character called White Dragon, who was an enemy of the Whip on Earth 2, and of course, with a hero being as well known as the Whip, it's surprising we don't know more about this White Dragon. But this version of White Dragon, including all history and corresponding appearances, was erased from existence following the collapse of the original multiverse in the 1985-86 Crisis on Infinite Earths limited series, so the Whip will have to find another White Dragon to battle, I guess. There's also a completely unrelated Marvel character, well, 3 actually, that used the name White Dragon. The first was a Chinese scientist who was an enemy of Tony Stark, but not linked in any way to the kind of hate groups the DC version is associated with. But the DC White Dragon's days were numbered because during his time as a member of the Suicide Squad, he made a serious enemy of the character Plastique, and she settled their disagreement in the most definitive way possible. She made him blow up on the inside. And speaking of blowing up on the inside, Adam, Do you have a list?
I do. I think Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's the only time I'm accepting somebody with the name Dragon in their name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, that comic connection wasn't enough for everybody. Let me sell you on this second half of James Gunn TV Fest, because this show has everything. We got superheroes driving sedans, desks crashing, just-in-time assassination, X-rays, a gorilla, a chainsaw, flaming hot Cheetos, butterfly reveals, invasion of the body snatchers, a 90s-style villain costumes that actually kind of work. James Gunn sort of addresses his hair, glam rock galore, a raccoon talks with God, fart sounds. If you're a man, you just know. We've got punching, kicking, screaming, stabbing, limb chopping, head smashing, hole blasting, car gently crashing, piano playing, pants dropping, and this sucker goes real James Gunn in the third act with a big old cow. This show's got everything.
Yes, it do. Yes, it do. So before we get into the whole thing here, do you guys mind if I go off on a tangent here with James Gunn?
Please.
Because I realized something watching this finale this week, because I've been watching it week to week. I love the show. It has been such a nice surprise to have something this great to watch every week. Every week also there's something that's just surprising. But to get to James Gunn for a second, I realized something about this man, which is that he writes straightforward stories so well that I can just watch. I will watch whatever he does from this point forward until something bad happens.
You got to really start screwing up on a regular basis to.
He's just a straightforward storyteller. There's not a lot of like, hey, look over here, and we're doing something over here. There's not a whole lot of that in his writing. It's just really well done. There's a lot of setups and payoffs. With he'll introduce Chekhov's gun almost every week, and almost every week it pays off, or it goes into something later on in the season.
Yeah, I was about to say, even several episodes later, you can come up with something.
Right. And, he does, and he's done this over and over again, whether it's the Guardians movies or even in the Suicide Squad. He is one of one now when it comes to his style of storytelling, where anything that I see that looks like sort of James Gunny, it is now just going to be James Gunny. Like, oh, hey, this person's trying to ape James Gunn's style here. And I didn't realize just how much he has been in our lives for the last 15 years, starting with Scooby-Doo, the Scooby-Doo movies and stuff like that. And you say what you will about those movies, they are exactly what you thought that they would be. Mm-hmm. And he really does nail it in that first movie, where even there's the big surprise at the end. And it is actually an honest to God surprise. The first time you see that movie, you're like, oh my God, of course that's what they did. and it works. And it's just throughout his career. I haven't watched the stuff that he did for Trauma. I didn't watch any of that stuff.
You're all right.
But yeah, I figured as much. But, when it comes to all of his major features and everything that he's done since basically Scooby-Doo, I've watched all of them. And to a certain extent, your mileage may vary on this, but they are all successful doing the thing that they're supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know many people who can do that, who can write and direct something that is so just well conceived that you like it happens time and again with James Gunn, specifically with his writing, but also with his directing, where you are watching something that is of a piece, where everything that he does is with purpose and intent, and he's trying to say something to you, even when you don't know he's trying to say something to you. It's the thing that I was complaining about in the Suicide Squad, because I didn't get a certain aspect of that movie. And doing a rewatch, I totally get it now.
Good.
And with Peacemaker, from the get of go, he is trying to tell you, that this is not a person that started well. Like his intentions weren't great. And what does that look like when this man needs to change his priorities? And it is so wonderful that from beginning to end, he knew exactly what was going to happen. It feels like he had the ending before he had everything else, and everything else is pretty great. And on top of that, I know I've said this before, that fourth episode has the best scene on a television show that I have seen since Ted Lasso, the dart throwing scene in Ted Lasso, where when Vigilante is in the prison.
Oh, I love that.
All of that is some of the best television I have seen in years. And it is wonderful. And I cannot heap enough praise on this thing. It really is like something that I didn't know we were missing. And think about your expectations when you first went into this show. For me, I kind of begrudgingly was like, well, it's James Gunn. Let's give it a chance. And by the end of the opening credits to this show, I was all in.
Perfect.
And it is such it's like a master class in do what you know well. And that is what this show is. It is everything that James Gunn is, just done to perfection. And I don't know what it is about James Gunn. You know, John Cena has been great in some things he has not been great in. He is so unbelievably perfect in this movie, and in this show, and you got to think that it's James Gunn who's doing this. Yes. Because when you see like Batista, what he is doing in Guardians of the Galaxy versus where he is in everything else, Batista is not great. No. And it's something that James Gunn is bringing to the table. He's clearly an actor's director.
I remember making this argument when we were reviewing the Suicide Squad. I'm glad you're buying into it now, because I felt like you didn't agree with me then.
Because I completely missed one aspect of that movie, and to be where we are now, where I am with James Gunn specifically, he's one of the guys now that if he has something new out, I'm just going to see it.
Yeah, me too, man. I think we established that with the Suicide Squad. You guys informed me that it sounds like Gunn is my director, and I think you're right.
Yeah, he might be, and he is the sort of storyteller that you specifically love, Bruce, and he's so what is the word I'm looking for? The level of satisfaction that you get watching his movies, it's the promise of this is the thing that I'm going to show you. And by the end of it, you are going to completely enjoy what you saw. And Gunn is the master at that as we sit here today.
Like, that the ride is going to be fun no matter where you're headed to.
Right.
It's interesting about, like you said, we've kind of known James Gunn for this time and stuff. And in a way, and this isn't pejorative, but like it's actually a good thing. I think this is more of an auteur theory than things haven't changed. But like, even look back to Super.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of that visual language that he's using even in this show that is very much kind of that same just vibe that I would just go is an autorial James Gunn kind of thing. Like he doesn't shoot things quite like everybody else does. They have this kind of James Gunnsian sort of look to it. Like when a Michael Bay film looks like a Michael Bay film, And I think same thing goes for James Gunn too.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, go ahead, Bruce. I've been monopolizing this.
That's all right. There were only 3 of the 8 episodes that Gunn didn't personally direct. Mm-hmm. And I think I could kind of feel it in those episodes, because I did have a couple episodes where I thought, well, it drug just a touch compared to what I was used to.
Well, because he also has flair when he's directing. He takes chances with things. He has a certain, look at it like this. The finale of this show, this season, it takes place in the woods. Like 90% of it takes place in the woods, but it doesn't feel like it does.
Yeah.
And that's all Gunn.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Slither, that's the exact same thing. Where it's like you're all just, in the woods, but it feels like it's way bigger than it actually is.
And he has a certain he does have that trick that he does, because I've been noticing it lately, especially in these last couple episodes of Peacemaker, where he's conveying feelings and emotions, and and two characters specifically get really big moments here in the finale, and he always undercuts that with a joke while serious things are being said. When specifically it's the farty noises in the van in this episode, where he is conveying real emotion, and then he undercuts it with farty noises, which is great, and that's the way I like me stories.
But at the odd time too, that is actually, while being silly and dumb and whatever, it also is informing you of this character. That's yes. Still a character piece that is developing who that person is. He doesn't want to have to deal with this right now, so he reverts back to childish, stupid things to try to not face on his problems head forward.
Right.
So there's reasons for it too, which is great. So if you can do the farty stuff, that's good. But if you can do it and it builds character, that's when you're working at all levels.
And, I know that we ask this question every time that we speak about James Gunn on this show, but I don't know what his next moves are. You got to think that it's going to be bigger, badder, better, whatever it is he's going to do. And I'm here for it. I cannot wait to see what his next steps are. I think that because after Guardians, he's done with Marvel, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I feel like it's one of those things where he's probably, from the sounds of it at least, wants to at least kind of maybe stay on in a sort of a producer-esque kind of role and stuff like that. And then, if something tickles your fancy, then jump in. I think that's how you do it. To always kind of keep that door slightly ajar just in case you want to come back in.
Do you think you'll continue to play in the DC sandbox a little bit with Warner Brothers?
Well, it depends. I think it depends on what happens with his personal stuff. Like, I think if Brightburn was a bigger success, probably not so much DC. But because Brightburn landed where it did, he's probably going to mess around with DC for a while here is my guess.
And I get the idea that he's managed to hit, he's managed to strike up some kind of working relationship with some folks at Warner Brothers so he can tell his own stories with their characters.
Oh, sure.
I don't know how much he has that with Disney and Marvel, but he's never going to get the R-rated stuff there.
Well, I mean, he strikes me as a Scorsese type guy, one for them, one for me. And I would imagine that that's probably where he's headed going forward. And and it's going to be fun to watch.
He strikes me as a lowbrow Kubrick who says, hurry up and write this story so I can change everything about it and make the movie, but I won't do it to finish the story. I love that about him. And he does it in a way that I'm going to compliment as a longtime comic book fan, but he totally gives himself permission to ignore a character, to recreate a character in his own image. But to get me to allow you to do that, you have to prove to me that you understand the character.
Right.
And that it's a conscious decision to go a different direction. And you're not just doing it because you don't know what you're doing. And he really does some stuff here with White Dragon and Peacemaker that let me understand he knows those characters. And he made a very conscious decision to streamline some things and make it work better. And he is being true to the source a little bit.
Right.
So much so that I want him to do like a Charlton Comics kind of shared universe where he can kind of tell his version. Like, I want to see the James Gunn Watchmen only with the Charlton Comics characters that were changed for Watchmen. Like, I want to see what kind of massive, because he is kind of coming up with those kind of massive stories, like the Cow here and Starro in the Suicide Squad. Those are like Watchmen type villains at the end,
Yeah, that's true.
And I'd kind of like to see what he could do. I mean, they couldn't get Peter Cannon Thunderbolt because that one never did go to DC, but all the other Charlton Comics characters Warner Brothers should own the rights to. And I'd kind of like to see him do some kind of like really out there team thing where he tells his version of what those characters would all do together.
He does have the balls to do that too. He would totally do that.
And you got the
troll would sell it with something over the top.
And you've got their news van there and everything.
Could you imagine what the question would be like in a James Gunn movie or show?
Or Jesus, Captain Atom. I mean, my word.
I think it'd be great. Oh man, I just want to see it.
But
I'm sorry, Adam. No, I'm monopolizing all the time. Please, Adam.
No, I was just gonna say. So it's been successful enough that, we at least know that James Gunn is going to be doing some Guardians of Guardians of the Galaxy we know, but coming back for a season 2 of Peacemaker because they renewed this thing already.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. I was kind of curious if this was like the Watchmen TV show, like he told his story and he's going to let it live out.
Well, the real question is was James Gunn pulling a fast one on us? Perhaps months ago. I forget when it was, but he said this. He's going to do Guardians, and then he was going to do some more, HBO DC TV stuff. Was he talking about this, or was he talking about this plus something else that's new? We don't know.
I hope he doesn't get spread too thin. I don't want him to Berlanti himself.
Well, here's the thing, man. It's just like he is, and that's Sean has a great thought of like I want to see more of eventually more of the independent kind of James Gunn stuff. Like where's your original content things. But he may be in for a kind of a Rousseauian nap, if you will, because he's on one of them kicks just like they were, where it's just like you've been working for the past decade. You might want to take a half a second vacay here to just take a nap.
And I would agree with that. And everybody needs a break. But Gunn seems like the type of person to me, especially just look at the TV show Peacemaker here, where he just constantly needs to be working. And what makes me say that is that he wrote Peacemaker during lockdown because he was so bored.
Yeah, and this is essentially, for all intents and purposes, a 4-hour movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, I think that the more we go down the road here with Peacemaker, the more juice he's going to have, because I can't foresee this being less popular. I mean, just getting that boulder rolling on this show from episode 1, where people that I work with had no idea that this thing even existed.
Crazy.
to now to the finale, where there are people at work who are literally saying, don't tell me, I'm watching it tonight.
And some stuff, if we can just jump around here, but we know he's got like goodwill and buy-in from the DC extended universe, because he had Jason Momoa show up along with Ezra Miller here at the end. And that's not something that's going to happen if they're trying to keep this cocooned off in its own little thing. And I like I said, just having those folks show up tell me he's got enough juice to really define the next movement for what DC is going to do with their multimedia properties. Because, other than maybe Superman and Lois, the Berlanti verse has more or less burned out at this point, right?
Yes,
I think so.
At least anything that he is directly involved with. Like he's executive producer of some shows that aren't.
They're not exactly getting a lot of love, is what I'm trying to say. People that even used to like him don't watch him anymore. And, I think they gave Snyder his cut. And I think that was both an actual Snyder cut and a cutting of the strings. I think that the Snyder strings have been cut. And I got to go somewhere with something, and this might be the guy that they're looking for, at least in the short term.
I think that's a mistake. I think that you don't need to chain James Gunn to the entire DC universe.
You're right, because they have this humongous Batman movie coming out in a couple of weeks that's going to be absolutely un-Gunn-like. So I was just jumping a little bit too enthusiastically into the pool there.
Right. I mean, basically what they need is, they need their version of Feige, and because Feige doesn't write anything. He's just like, hey, this is a thing. Like, here's where we're at. And that's how he is involved with it. And you don't need a hyper creative to be in charge of the DC EU. You just need a guy who knows what they're doing. And I think when they have had their success, it's been when they've said, you know what, instead of taking the Feige approach where everything's hyper connected, let's just let people do their own thing a little bit. They let Gunn do his thing. They let, what's his name? Todd something or other do the Joker thing. They're letting this guy do the Batman thing. Like, they're letting people do their own thing, and they're just going to kind of flow with what works. And then they're going to have some fun stuff like the Zachary Levi stuff, the Rock stuff, the Aquaman stuff. I feel like they're smart to just say, hey, we would rather have 4 good movies than 4 interconnected movies that everybody pans. Yes.
And Gunn himself has said that they've given him all the leeway. Do whatever that you want with this. There's pretty much no restrictions on him, and that's certainly something that we've seen over the history that you're not going to get over at Marvel. So
definitely not.
And I've seen, we saw how he recreated Adrian Chase here because we had seen the Berlanti version of Adrian Chase. And I'm going to tell you, my favorite supporting character is probably Adrian Chase here in this show. I love the way that
geez, man. How do you choose? But yeah, I mean, geez, man, Vigilante's amazing.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about that character. Did you know that Freddie Stroma, the guy who plays Vigilante, wasn't the original Vigilante on this show?
No, I didn't.
I found this out. It's kind of amazing.
It is amazing. They shot 5.5 episodes with a different actor.
And it didn't work out, or what?
It didn't work out. The actor was Chris Conrad, who's on the show Patriot, a show I never watched. That's a show that doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. He was the original Vigilante. And what James Gunn is quoted as saying is that, look, he's a very talented guy. We just had different thoughts on how to progress with this character.
Yeah, it was a nice creative differences, thing, which is as nice as you can hope to get.
And shows you just how much James Gunn has grown as a human being, that he's not in the press saying what a horrible human being that Chris Conrad was on set, because that used to be his move. So for him to be where he is now, it's pretty great.
Well, in season 2, seeing how well they recreated this character, I got to know first on the Arrow, and then they did poke a little bit of fun at Green Arrow here in the last couple of episodes. So I would love for Green Arrow to kind of show up in season 2 and see how James Gunn treats that. I think I said that when we reviewed the first couple, but now I'm really feeling it.
Who would you have as like a Green Arrow? Would you cast somebody completely new? We certainly wouldn't want to get what's his nut. No.
Actually, I think if it was the James Gunn treatment where you're making him like a total square that everybody's making fun of, that Steve Amell would probably work pretty good.
Because Amell does have comedy chops. He is good at it.
And, he's in the world of wrestling, so he'd probably love to work with John Cena. Like, he's really a big fan and like insider with wrestling, believe it or not.
Oh,
so
yeah.
He's got like a show on Stars or Showtime or some channel I don't really watch about Heels is the name of the show, but it's about the bad guys in wrestling, and he's one of the heels. But anyway, I think he would love it to get to work with Cena. I really do.
But yeah, I think this show is, like I said, it's interesting that it started out and it never gets too big. It kind of stays in this nice small level, and it's good to see that being here and in other comic book movies. And while we can have what almost seems like that end of the world scenario where this alien, species comes in and is like, "Hey, we're taking your stuff." It can work on a small scale as well as a big scale. You don't have to have, the starfish running down the streets, smashing everything up. We can have that happen in the woods with the big giant creature that looks like a multi-eyed Furby giving out weird. I still think
there was some kind of similarity in the oversized alien bug thing. Like the cow and the Starro kind of reminded me of one another a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Nieces and nephews of each other,
Sure. And disgusting.
It's
and both are just prisoners held against their will, and yet you're going to kill them.
I just when that thing showed up, I was just we are finally in a full James Gunn production right here. It's finally the moment. Like, there's enough of it ahead of time, and other times you're like, this is very James Gunn. You get to this moment, if you had not known at that point, you sure as shooting would have known at that point. We're like, oh, okay, I know now. I definitely know who's behind this show.
3 different characters. You know what? That's too much. Let me go backwards. I cannot tell you how much I love Danielle Brooks on this show. Adebayo.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Leota.
Say what?
Her first name is Leota. I read that is James Gunn's mother's first name, Leota Gunn. Imagine if you're like 4th grade teacher was Leota Gunn. You'd be well behaved.
Yeah, you would. You'd be like, oh, okay, all right, fair enough.
Danielle Brooks is putting on a much like James Gunn himself, is putting on a masterclass in acting. She has a very difficult role to play on this show. You should not like this character. especially with the turn. And even when she sets up Peacemaker, you still like her.
Yeah.
You know, this actress, I know her from Orange is the New Black. I watched like the first 2 seasons of that show, and she's great in that show too. She is so wonderful on the show. The fact that she just puts herself into James Gunn's hands, and what did he end up doing? He turns her into a human bullet. I mean, come on, man.
I love that. Yes.
Amazing stuff.
It accomplished absolutely nothing. I mean, that was great. I'm curious how they're going to explore this character. I'm so glad to know there's another season, because I feel like there's a backstory where Amanda Waller like grew her in a petri dish or something. You know, like she got some of Batman's DNA and mixed it with Waller DNA and made this out of bio, especially when she said, I was made for this, when she finally gets her action moment where she's got pistols in both hands and she's running and just shooting people left and right, which awesome to see a different type character get to be an action star there, different, you know, type actor.
I'm just curious where it came from, because like,
but she was literally made for this. I think she was genetically made in a petri dish by Waller.
You know, my first reaction when you said that, Bruce, was to think, you know, you're taking things far too literally here. But it is James Gunn. She absolutely was vibe. She's absolutely was born in a petri dish. You are absolutely right.
I feel like Gunn and I vibe on this stuff. Like when I say it, people say that's stupid and ridiculous. He says it and they laugh. So I tell him and he says it for me.
And he says, yes, it is. And it's going in.
Well, the best part is like, unlike your conversations with your friends at work and at the bar and everything, this one's recorded. So we can play this back when it happens.
Oh, you know, I would be remiss if we move on for a second, but because I need to talk about Danielle Brooks' perfect moment in the finale this week. When Peacemaker says to her, you know, don't tell V, but Eagly is my best friend, but you're second place.
Yeah.
That actress's reaction, her performance in that moment is so absolutely perfect. There are gigantic Hollywood movie stars who have made billions of dollars at this point who could not do what she did in that scene.
She just has a great expressive face, and not in a way that's always like big and giant. Like when she's watching the eagle hug him and everything, she's not saying anything. She's not acting big or anything, but she is acting in that thing, man. She's watching, like, because you know she's not looking at an actual eagle. That's a CGI. She's like, look at this tennis ball. And she's got to give that thing of like, I'm seeing an eagle hug a grown man.
She's looking at Sean Gunn in a green suit.
I love to think that he's
Sean Gunn is the eagle now. I'm going to start spreading that rumor.
Hey, that's a good one.
You know, when they remake yet another Jurassic whatever, because, you know, this third one's supposed to be the final one of this version of Jurassic Park, they need to hire her, because the thing that is constantly missing from these Jurassic Park movies is just how good the kids and Laura Dern are at portraying that they are staring at dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And their amazement. She would be perfect in a Jurassic Park.
I remember seeing him on Regis and Kathy Lee, where they were like joking with him and stuff. And of course, Regis was like, I can do one of those scary faces. And he goes, huh. And this like 11-year-old kid just goes, no, it's like this, and does the best like acting, just like snap of a finger. And everybody's sitting there going like, holy crap, this kid is good.
That's why they got hired, those two kids.
Freaking amazing.
That comes from a stage mom who beats you regularly. That's how you learn to do that.
Let me see your, oh my God, that's a dinosaur face.
Whoa, wow, that guy's good. He's like, you don't go over the top. You just got to look scared, real scared.
Pee your pants.
There's so many people to talk about. We didn't talk about Canada's Own on this show, which is what tells me that this was shot in Vancouver. Because whenever you see Lachlan Monroe in a role on a TV show, you're like, oh, this is shot in Canada.
Oh man, that guy like looks like this should be a sci-fi show. Like he's the one part that sticks out a little bit.
Well, because that's what he does, right?
I know. That's what I mean.
This guy's an alien. No. That's just no.
he's great on the show, and he's great in basically everything he does because he sells everything he does. But I mean, Lachlan Monroe is Canada's own Lachlan Monroe.
He has this magical ability to look like a guy who used to be a teen heartthrob, but he was never a teen heartthrob.
Yes, it's like hey, was that guy in American Pie? Oh no, he's from Canada.
Yeah. He was in Canadian Porridge, the lesser received version.
The White Dragon costume was really great looking. It is like it's the most comic booky without quite hitting that border. It's that James Gunn level. It's just,
well, that's exactly you stole the words out of my mouth, because that costume doesn't work in just about any other thing. It works on this show because it's James Gunn. But if that showed up on, like The Flash,
you'd
one
laugh.
week, it would be the dumbest costume ever. But because it's Gunn, it works.
And it's got this weird thing where my son and I both agree that would be a great action figure, but probably no company wants to make the clan leader action figure.
Probably not.
and here's the thing. It does what also great villain designs and stuff do. It looks cool. Like it looks like it's really neat design. I love the hoods for all of his disciples and everything. They're like modified clan hoods where they got two horns. I was like, that's really smart. I love that.
I thought they were just pillowcases. I didn't catch on that they had the horns on it, but now I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So each of them had the kind of fake horns falling this. I'm like, oh, that's really clever.
Well, he's basically stealing the same idea that the first Captain America movie had, where, see, they're not Nazis. They're lifting both arms up.
Yeah.
It's fine.
The two-handed salute.
But Robert Patrick, man, there's something about him where I'm sure he's the nicest guy in the world. James Gunn seems to have that on set. Like, look, we're just going to hire cool people. But man alive, he looks absolutely insane on this show.
This week, I spent an hour talking to my dad on the phone, and the bulk of that phone conversation was about Robert Patrick's hair in Peacemaker. Because man, it is something.
I mean, he looks absolutely insane.
Perfect.
And it's so hard to believe it's the same guy who's the button-down agent who takes over for Mulder on the X-Files. Like,
or,
what?
The T-1000.
Sure, I know, but everybody knows that.
Who has the Tennessee mullet going down halfway through his back in the flashbacks.
I did love the flashback hairdos, man. It reminded me of a simpler time.
But also I love that they didn't try to like age him down. They just did exactly like with Rooker. They're like, all right, you got a different hairstyle. There you go. You're older. Shut up. We just keep on moving. We're like, it doesn't matter that it was 30 years ago. He looks exactly the same. It's just his hair is just dark.
Yeah. And Bruce, I got to ask this question because we know, both Adam and I know that you weren't like a giant Cena fan before the show started. Does this show make you want to go back and watch other things he's been in?
Maybe. I'll tell you that I was a fan of his performance in the Suicide Squad. Mm-hmm. Like that was a turning point for me. So I was 100% ready for this show. Mm-hmm. Probably even more so than you guys were, but I still don't like, I've seen him in that Fast and Furious movie that you guys, for some reason, didn't want to punish yourselves with. He's not good. I've seen him in was he in Bumblebee?
Yeah.
Yeah, not good.
Well, he was 5 seconds in Bumblebee, so you know.
But I think he might be good in that Blockers movie that I haven't seen. So
he is terrific in that. He is terrific in that.
I want to see him do some actual comedic roles. He was okay. Like, I think he got more love than he deserved for that Amy Schumer movie he was in, Trainwreck. I think
he was in for 2-3 minutes. It wasn't.
And I feel like people gave him more love than he deserved.
Well, you're right, because it was just shocking coming from John Cena what he was saying.
And he got his big healthy booty out there too, and that didn't hurt.
No.
All I can remember is he said that he looked like Mark Wahlberg ate Mark Wahlberg, so that stuck with me for a while.
That is pretty good too.
But now I can't unsee the Jim Varney comparisons.
It's both things. They never put that together before. It's Jim Varney and Mark Wahlberg had a baby.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And I know that we have been heaping praise on Freddie Stroma as well, Vigilante, at the top of the show. But, just making him basically a serial killer just perfect. That actor plays it to perfection. And
yes,
the only thing I've ever known this guy from is the Harry Potter movies. I've never seen him in anything else. You guys?
So I didn't even know he was in the Harry Potter movies, and I looked up and saw he was English. I thought, well, this is perfect. But I mean, like even later on in the show, there's a part where he goes, "Oh, but I don't have feelings like other people do, so it didn't bother me." And I'm like slowly starting to see like this is a guy on the spectrum who's killing people out here, and he's like so good at it because that's what he wants to do.
And he has because he's just a blank person with no actual feelings or anything. It's not a big deal. It's just kind of like,
he's
well,
like extremely literal. You know, I love the extremely literal person. I like his version of it better than Batista's Drax, actually. And and when he says, "Look, this is how you should do it. I'm going to say something sarcastic," and then he says something that's not sarcastic at all. It's just the truth and hurtful. I'm going to say something sarcastic. You're too fat, Economos. I do feel like James Gunn was letting Steve Agee cash a rain check here because I think he probably felt bad about replacing him with Stallone a little bit because, you know, it was all hyped up that Agee was going to be the voice of King Shark.
Right.
And then he replaced him because, you know, Stallone's available for the role. You don't pass that up. But I feel like he gave him a major rain check here because he had a lot of fun scenes in this.
Well, we're going to talk about that later at the end of the show. There's a history there with Agee, with Steve Agee and James
I'm never sure how to say his last name.
It's
Agee.
It's definitely Agee. 100%.
Definitely Agee.
I've heard it a billion times on different shows and whatnot.
Yes.
And I the first time I ever saw him was on the Sarah Silverman show. I've been a fan ever since. Him and Brian Posehn were the life partners that love D&D, so they stuck out with me.
But no, and he's got like he's got that really great scene where the guy asks him like, you know, why did this human dye his beard like this and everything, and I thought that was like a really great moment, a super great acting moment for him to be able to do that, and you know. Let's be honest. I feel like it is James Gunn just saying, like, listen, I dyed my hair for a long time. It's gray now, so shut up.
Yes.
Which I love. I love that he's embraced it too because he looks good.
You know that James Gunn did have to go through a phase where his hair looked like that beard, where the gray roots were coming out and the jet black stuff was on the end. And I think maybe he got to Johnny Knoxville because there's a couple of white-haired Johnny Knoxville appearances in that latest movie he had.
Yeah, exactly. It's called, you know what? Let's just get over it. Now, I've never understood why guys do, and I thought that was hilarious. John Cena just giving him straight crap and looking at his shoe polish dyed hair, going, "What the hell are we on about here? Like this man ain't dyeing his hair. We can see this from a mile and a half away."
He wears a helmet most of the time too. He's balding pretty badly right now, John Cena.
It's like
right in the middle too.
Unbelievable, man. And I'm just like, okay, all right. I guess we're just gonna play this game, but that's fine.
But it did make me cringe in pain more than anything from a TV show has in a long time when Agee broke his shit.
Oh, my Lord. Man, his bone sticking out. God.
And here's the thing, like the thing that like felt like it was true. I've never broken a bone, thank God. But the thing that felt true to me in that is like he fell and he didn't quite know what happened. And then he looks and goes, "Oh, God, that's why I can't move my leg."
And I just couldn't help but feel if I ever had my big action moment, that's exactly how it'd go for me.
Well, take it from someone who has broken many, many bones. I can tell you that there are times where, and I'm sure Gunn is going to have this at some point too. There are times where you know that you have messed something up bad. And I had a buddy at work that I would go, "Okay, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you my hand. You need to tell me how bad it is."
Uh-oh.
And every so often he's like, "Okay, so we need to get to the car." Like sometimes it was that, and sometimes he's like, "Oh no, you're great. So you are correct. You don't know initially. You know that it's bad.
You have this adrenaline rush from the fall usually, so that like the pain is kind of numbed and you think it's okay until you try to pick something up. Like I've broken my forearms. I broke my right arm twice and my left arm once, I think. Or maybe it's I broke my right arm twice, my left arm once. So I've been through the broken forearms near the wrist enough to know like you always think it's just sprained until you try to pick something up.
Right.
Ugh, no, thank you. Oh, so glad. I mean, I've only gotten just buttloads of stitches. I cut myself. All right, let's get down to it. Before we give our final review here and everything, we do have to ask ourselves one very important question: is how this HBO series relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone.
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement. Ooh. Hello again, Mr. Stallone. We here at HMP, we've attempted to speak to you previously about the TV show Peacemaker way back in episode 398. I love the show Peacemaker, not only because it's well acted, directed, written, conceived, and someone's complete vision from naybone to nuts, but also because it's a slammer for me finding the Stallone connection. You've worked with half the cast when you worked on the Suicide Squad, and today's Stallone connection doesn't get much closer because today I'd like to speak to you about Steve Agee. I would imagine that at this point, even you know who Steve Agee is, since you both played the same character, King Shark in the Suicide Squad. Steve Agee was the David Prowse to your James Earl Jones. You know how I know I have a super nerdy podcast, Mr. Stallone? I don't need to clarify my last sentence. But to get back to Steve Agee, it shows what a class act he is that after he had already laid down the voice of King Shark, at the last minute, you agreed to voice the role. And you ended up getting the part because you're Sylvester Stallone and you would get the part. I had wondered, as did many other nerds, how Steve Agee took that news, but clearly the man lives his life with a bit of grace because not only did he get another role in the Suicide Squad, but he got to reprise that role on the TV show Peacemaker, playing John Economos, one of the many characters that I love on the show, and Agee is great in the role. What I didn't realize until doing some half-ass research is that Steve Agee has been part of James Gunn's repertory company since 2010's movie Super. Since then, he's been in Guardians 2 and Brightburn, which is a movie that was secretly directed by James Gunn, don't tell anybody, and The Suicide Squad. For a guy that isn't a household name, he's built out quite the career for himself with over 141 acting credits on his resume, including a stint on the web series Chad Vader, which is incredible when you consider that those guys now get our numbers, while Steve Agee is fifth billed on one of the most popular TV shows on television. So, Mr. Stallone, I'm going to guess that you'll be working with James Gunn again in the near future. And if you find yourself standing next to Steve Agee, talk to him. He seems like a pretty cool guy. And tell him that Sweet Shawnzy is a fan. I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you for your time. Your pal, Sweet Shawnzy from the internet.
I also don't think people realize how much of a comedy guy Steve Agee is. For those of you that may not kind of know and stuff from his, he did a lot of the comedy Bang Bang stuff back in the day and stuff. So he's a funny guy, that guy.
He is.
All right. Before we get to our Robin rating, let's see what our supporters over at patreon.com/HMP have to say about Peacemaker. Justin says, Peacemaker was such a delightful surprise. Outside of the Suicide Squad, I wasn't familiar with the character at all. John Cena seems to have found his groove as an actor, and Vigilante is one of the most creative uses of a comic book character we've seen in quite some time. James Gunn is a genius. Peter says, it's a Tim Drake for me. It was extremely good, but I found myself losing interest between episodes. I think it would have benefited from being released all at once. Matthew says, a mad delight is what I've been calling it.
That's good.
Thomas Steele says, John Anthony, I don't know where this comes from, but I love that this is his response when I asked, what'd you guys think of it? John Felix Anthony Cena is an American professional wrestler, actor, and former rapper, currently signed to the WWE. Widely regarded as one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, he is tied with Ric Flair as the world's most championship reigns in a professional wrestling history, and he kills people. I don't
Wow.
That's his comment. I love it. Noah says Peacemaker is the DC version of Marvel's Deadpool, movies, not comics. And it's very delightful, funny show that understands itself. No humor. The humor might not be for everyone, and those who don't find it funny need to pull the stakes out of their backsides and learn to laugh. And they have an eagle for a pet sidekick, and that's, his best friend. Eagly is now my new Grogu. Brian says James Gunn really appreciates Norman Lear. Dick Grayson for me. I was not expecting it to be as good, and I was happily wrong. And Voss says, I was glad to hear that there's a season 2 in the works. James Gunn is going to come back and to write and direct. He said in an interview that he loves doing the show because HBO is literally letting him do whatever he wants to with the show. So it is, we've got mostly, well, we have Tim Drake is second, and Dick Grayson. Those are the only two that people voted for. Dick Grayson, of course, won out with everything. Bruce, where does Peacemaker season 1 fall in the Robin rating system for you?
I think I'm with the patrons here. I think it's a Dick Grayson. This is good fun. It's going to have a lot of rewatchability. I'm looking forward to season 2. I hope James Gunn stays intimately involved with season 2. You know, he directed 5 of the 8 episodes. I like him directing the episodes. I'll say that. But yes, Dick Grayson.
John?
If I may jump into the echo chamber, it is such a lovely, well done piece of television. This is a Dick Grayson for me. It doesn't get much better when it comes to again, it's stylized. It feels like someone's vision from beginning to end. It is wonderful, a wonderful show. If you like your comedy a little rougher, this is just a fastball for you. It's a Dick Grayson.
For me, I am going to go a very high Tim Drake. There are a couple of moments where it just felt like a little bit of lull here and there. I'm mostly good with James Gunn writing, but every now and then there's a little bit kind of like nose touchy sort of thing going on where I'm like, all right, I see what you're, good, fair enough. But I liked it. It is a lot of fun, and that score, because I think, I'm thinking we're early on in the year here. I think sometime between now and the end of the year, I'll probably watch Peacemaker and Suicide Squad again, because you said you kind of found Suicide Squad again to be a little bit better after some of this, Sean? Is that what I'm kind of?
Yes. I rewatched it recently because I just love the character of Polka Dot Man. Mm-hmm. It's such a wonderful character. And so I was like, you know what, let's try this again. And it might be one of those weird things like I just rewatched The King's Man, and I was too harsh on that movie as well.
Oh man, this is this is the sweetest of sweet Shanzys. Finally, seeing my side of the road a little bit.
It's not just
Shanzy.
It's not just a clever nickname, sir. And it was. But when it comes to the Suicide Squad, it's just such a good movie. Yeah. Where was I headed with that?
That's it. We're just kind of giving our final little thoughts on everything. But so yeah, Peacemaker. Everything is available right now on HBO Max. We'll certainly keep an eye out for season 2 coming up in the very, very soon. We'll talk about what we're doing in just a moment. For next week, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I'd love for people to check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/Bruce Leslie, watching some of the best anime out there. Great reactions, great reviews. And guess what? I just started watching Death Note. So you want to check out my reaction to the first episode of Death Note, see what I have to say about Attack on Titan, see what I had to say about the wrap up of the Entertainment District arc. It's all there on the YouTube channel.
Sean, what else?
We have a bunch of other podcasts that we do, and they're based around nerdy properties, whether it's a Star Wars, maybe it's a Marvel, and check that out. It's all under the 30 questions banner. So just type in 30Q into your podcatcher, and you'll be lousy with other podcasts we do.
March has Moon Knight starting up, so get yourselves ready. We're rocking.
Wow, that's March
yet again. I believe so. Am I wrong about that?
I don't know.
I'm out of the loop.
I feel like I remember that. Or if not, it's coming soon enough, by God, because Disney Plus will be making sure that you do not cancel your subscriptions in between months, because they're like, no, we got more stuff, more things. You want to see these things, your Disney things, Star Wars things, you love them, right? Shut up, watch, please. Give us your money. So we'll be talking about that whenever that happens. So go
March
check out
30th.
There you go. So end of March, beginning of April. So it's coming up quite soon. So check out all those 30 question shows. And check out the Film Find, where I'm talking about all kinds of different movies and whatnot. It's a good time over there as well. That is it, everybody. Remember, next week we have our Patreon vote as it stands right now. The number one spot right now is taken by True Romance. But right behind that, in a 3-way tie currently, Adventures in Babysitting, Clerks, and Iron Giant with Ingrid Goes West coming in at the bottom. But at this, like I said, it's still early in the game here. We got a couple of days to go out, and if you want to switch that vote up in any way, shape, or form, and you're not already supporting patreon.com/HMP, we really appreciate that. That is it, everybody. Join us next episode for that Patreon vote selection for Sweet Sean's and Kovacs from the internet. Bruce Lustig, I'm at a Portrait. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.
I went to a party